the American culture, this beautiful heritage that we have from the men of the 1800s, that they call it the underdog and the gamebred. Two very powerful terminologies that we still keep using, that it was a gift given to the American people by those dogs that came from Ireland, from England, that you look at them and you say, what kind of dog is that? And they say it's a gamebred. So we talk about those words that are very powerful and men that influence society. Jorge-masvidal, Royce-Gracie, Terence-Crawford, Canelo-Alvarez, Rocky Balboa, and we have those greats from the past that always loved the dogs. Social legends as Jack Dempsey, Jack Johnson, and influenced all these men and how this will happen. In American society, American society is so special because it has this heritage, has this beautiful thing that comes to it, you know, that some of the countries were not blessed with such a powerful input of beliefs. And one of those beliefs, when it comes like to the American Pitbull Terrier, for instance, you know, so majestic, the real American Pitbull Terrier, let me just say that, not just any Pitbull, but the real one, the one that has the heritage of greatness, like the dog that came from the Olympia. At the very beginning of American history, there were some very proud immigrants and Americans also that, you know, went to the old land and they wanted to have the baddest dog in the world, the baddest motherfucker. And because at the time we didn't have no Xbox, no Nintendo, no games, nothing, no television, no telephone accessible, or no telephone at all, whatever.
So the dogs were
the dogs was the main center of entertainment. The dogs were the main center, and so these people will invest their money on these prize dogs, you know, and the dogs didn't have, the dogs were just special. Just imagine this. You got a guy that has to travel with his family all the way from Ireland, from England to America, 30 days, 60 days in the boat. Can't remember how many days, maybe somewhere 30, maybe there were some 60. But they're coming in, the dogs are in boxes, you know, they're bringing the dog in a box, you know, 40 pound, 50 pound, 30 pound, 20 pound dog, whatever it is at the time. And these are the parents of the breed of the American Pitbull Terrier, which later on became actually better than those dogs. But at that particular point, it was very important. So they came in through one generation to the second generation to the third generation on a country that just came out from an independence of England. They just came out in 1976. The American Revolution just came out and America was free. So America was having this explosion of growth and people want to have great dogs. And at the moment, the American people, the beginnings, those dogs came in. And so as those dogs came in, you know, you will approach one of those guys and say, hey man, that's a beautiful looking dog there. It looks like got some personality, you know, and I see he's playing with your kids, you know, but he looks like a tough cookie too. You know, can he do something? You know, what kind of breed is that? You know, come and say, that's a gamebred. That's a gamebred. So what do you mean by gamebred? Say, it's a gamebred. That's all you need to know. He comes from really great motherfucker dogs. This is not the dog to fuck with.
They're sweet, but they kick your ass.
They're sweet, but they kick your ass. Later on, these dogs were called the dogs of velvety steel. So the guy will come in and say, what about if I bring my German Shepherd? You know, it's like 5 times bigger. Or my Rottweiler, for instance, just as an example. You say, you can bring that motherfucker right now, and we're gonna break him in pieces. And that's how it used to be. Those were the men, the real men, the foundation of America. You know, they were not, you know, the way, you know, things changed.
They're not looking for trouble, but
they're not looking for trouble. They're not looking for trouble. But if trouble comes to them, they were going to know how to handle it. These dogs were not looking for trouble. I promise you. You look at dogs like Siega-the-Great. She was never looking for trouble. Never looking for trouble. But when trouble came to her, trouble got a new lesson. Not ever fuck with Siega-the-Great. And that was so important when it came to that. And so those are the parents that clash into together to create the basis, the birth of the real American Pitbull Terrier, which is very different than what most society call pit bulls. These are the real American Pitbull Terrier. Is a game-bred animal. It's called the dog of velvety steel. Is velvet because he's so soft. Then he has these special powers of extra connection with the human, with the handler. Back then in the 1800s and the 1900s, he connects with the human in such a way that when he connects with the human, influence the human, don't give up, be strong, if you are the underdog, you can't stop. And these words of GAMEBRED, or even the word, which is so powerful, the word that says being the underdog is part in the American culture today. You look at the guys like Royce-Gracie, one of my inspirations, Royce-Gracie. And when it came to Royce-Gracie, when Royce, find out about Royce-Gracie in 1993, and I was developing my dogs back in the Bronx, I came in and I just like, man, this dog is a pitbull. Royce-Gracie is a pitbull. His brother, Ralph, calls Ralph the pitbull. And so you look at this was the beginnings of the UFC. And so these Royce-Gracie being so game or game-bred, to say the way the least, this is in American culture. When it comes to, I remember Terence-Crawford, everybody calls him the dog. You say, oh, it's going to be a dog fight if you go into Terence-Crawford. That's the kind of expressions that can mean, they're not talking about a Chihuahua versus a Chihuahua. They're not talking a German Shepherd versus a German Shepherd. I remember in the fight of Errol Spence versus, what's his name?
Porter.
Sean Porter. Everybody was going to say, man, this is going to be a dog fight, because these guys are going to duke it out. It's going to be a dog fight. So, yes, in society in 2020, nobody's promoting dog fighting. I'm not promoting it. I'm just touching history and how those words came, and they are attached to the real men. They are attached to the men that will never give up. They are attached to the American history. They are part of, they are part of that development of those men of the past, the working men, the blue-collar men. So GAMEBRED, underdog, American Pitbull Terrier, awesome buck, siega-the-great, Chilindrina, those right there is the greatest. It is what it is.